So were you both good students growing up? Did you like school?
I think we were decent students. I didn't necessarily love school. And when I look back, I'm like, if some of these transformative education models were accessible and available to me, I would have opted for that.
Yeah.
So I was a decent student where I had to study a ton. It was a lot of late nights, early mornings.
Tamela and I are both survivors. We are going to find a way to thrive in any environment that we are in. So we really have great adapting skills. I ended up graduating high school and college with a 3.5 GPA. I was only motivated because of sports.
Yeah.
We made it in spite of the system, not because of the system.
Not because of it. Yeah.
Welcome to the Future of Education podcast, hosted by MacKenzie Price. MacKenzie is the founder of a revolutionary new school model that's disrupting education through AI. Join us as we discuss the latest in education innovation.
Okay, we've had such a good day today because I have been taking you guys all over town, haven't I? I am super excited. I've got Demario and Tamela Davis. Woo! Demario is a New Orleans Saints linebacker. He is super, super, super successful. Tell me all the things he's done.
Oh my gosh. He's team captain, which is a big deal. People don't understand that. And arguably the most important position, some would say quarterback, but the middle linebacker is like the heart and soul of a football team. He's usually the guy who is like the leader. Everybody, he's the alpha dog at Alpha School, that he is the guy. And it's one of the most intelligent positions. So you have to be incredibly intelligent, aware at all times. So Demario is not only just an awesome athlete, but an awesome leader. So yeah.
And that's actually how we got to know each other. Yeah. So thank you for being here, first of all. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So as I was saying, we've been driving all over town because this morning you went to Texas Sports Academy and you got to hang out and see what we're doing there and how we've incorporated sports into our life skills programming and how we have our kids crush the academics. The kids were lined up to meet you and it was really fun. Then we went over to the Alpha K through 6 school and now we're at my awesome podcast studio and we're going to sit and chat. So anyways, the way we connected though is because you guys have an interest in education. So it's good. But I want to step back a little bit because you guys are such a sweet couple. How many kids do you have?
Six
kids.
6 little ones.
And where do they go to school?
At home.
At home. We got a homeschooling family in the house. And homeschoolers have known for a long time that it does not take all day to educate your kids, does it? Okay, tell me what a typical homeschool day looks like in your house.
You want to get a rundown?
You can start us off.
So when you have 6 kids, it can be chaotic, but we believe in a principle called organized chaos.
All right.
So we say we're running a college football program, and so we control their day from the time they wake up to the time they go down. So our kids are up by 7:30, they're downstairs eating breakfast by 8 o'clock. They kind of all float in different times. But 9 o'clock is when they start their day. And 9 o'clock is when they go up for what we call study hall. So whether it's a school day or it's a non-school day, they have study hall at 9 o'clock, which kind of keeps them on a rhythm. In that time, they can draw, they can write.
And these kids are like 5 through 11 is the age range. So you really have the one-room schoolhouse vibe going on.
Yes.
Okay.
And so you go up. And 9 to 11 is kind of study hall. Now, in that time, it's kind of rolling schedule because they're on a school curriculum called Valid Global Online. Mm-hmm. And so our kids do that, and it's essentially some of them start at 10 o'clock, some of them start at 10:30, and so it's like a rolling start to the day. And so they may be in class 45 minutes, and then they'll have a little break, then they get back on. So all independent. They know how to email their teachers. They know how to go through that. And so essentially that is going on, that model where they're doing that from 10 till 2 o'clock is when they're usually finishing. Then they do their lunch in there as well. And then
lots of breaks to get the wiggles out, bounce down the stairs, interrupt mom while she's working.
A lot of interrupting mom while she's working. And then from 3 to 4, they do another study hall, which is where they get to finish up all their homework, anything they don't do. And the kids are able to work at their own pace because essentially they may get a objective that they need to be done by the end of the week. And some of them finish on Wednesday, some of them finish on Thursday. And then at 4 o'clock is their outside time.
They're ready to go.
And they're good.
So did you guys know you wanted to homeschool from your first baby on?
Yes, I think it was hit or miss because we were not exposed to homeschool. Homeschool wasn't really a thing when we were growing up.
Way back, it was like what only the weird people did.
Yeah,
right?
it's
it
only
was weird.
what-
It was always just kind of
Yes.
religion based, and it was this. It's
Yes.
exploded, right? There are so many
It's
people who want to
exploded
homeschool
so much, and
that it really has become more broad. Okay,
Yeah.
so you hadn't been exposed.
So we hadn't been exposed, but when I graduated from college, was pursuing a career in education.
And you guys were college sweethearts. You met
Yep.
in college at what school?
Yep,
Arkansas
Arkansas
State.
State.
Arkansas
State.
State.
In a
And you-
medieval literature class.
And you already saw this guy
Yeah.
had moves. He had moves on the field and probably off the field too, right? He
Yeah,
swept you right off your
He was
feet.
trying to sweep me right off my feet. I guess he did a good job at that. So, yeah.
All these years later, you're still doing a good job
Still
on
kicking.
that. So
Great
How long have you been
he
married?
is a smart man.
Oh, yeah. We've
This
been
year be
married for
13 years.
13 years.
13
Yeah.
years. Woo!
6
13
kids later.
years and 6 babies. You
Yeah,
guys have been busy.
she's still putting up with me. She's still putting up with me.
Okay, so you were an education major. Is that what you said? You education major. You've got your horse tied to his. By the
Yep.
time you guys are out of college, you know
Uh-huh.
you're going to be together. Okay, so then what?
Yeah. So my first job was a test specialist where I was tutoring kids to pass standardized tests. And I go in and I had this concept that I'd created in my head of what it would be like going into a traditional classroom. And
Very
I get there.
idyllic and perfect.
Yes, and like learning
yeah.
styles, individualized learning. You get
Of
to coach
course.
the kids, you get to know them. And I learned very quickly, but that was not going to happen. Like,
Yeah.
no, this is not what this is set up to do. And so from there, I kind of wrestled with that because that was not something that I thought I was signing up for. And so left my job just
Which,
trying
by
to
the
figure
way,
it out.
isn't that so sad? Like people who want to go into the classroom, they want to work with kids, they want to make a difference, and then they get in the environment, and it's like the system is just set up to
Yes.
fail.
It's super sad because once you're getting to know the kids, you realize they have different gifts and strengths, but some of them have different limitations. And one test should not determine how limited they should be. We always like to say that kids are not standardized and learning should be made personal. And that's something that you don't always see in the traditional system. And so from there, it's like, no, we can't do this. And so I really left my job trying to figure out like what was next. And then I met this guy and I met this guy and I didn't know what I was walking into for sure. But as we began to plan to have our family, I was like, oh, what if we homeschool?
And no, she got me into education when I was in college.
Oh, yes, I
And
forgot
so,
about that.
Though I liked helping kids, I was like, I'd do any type of charity event around little kids and helping with them. But she was like, no, you need to know what you're going to do if you don't go to the league. You need to go be a substitute. She got me a job as a substitute teacher.
You were a substitute teacher?
While I was in college, yes. I
He
was a
was
substitute
training
teacher.
for the NFL, and I'm like, buddy, we don't know if this is going to happen.
We need a backup plan.
We need a backup
That
plan.
was it.
Well,
So
and
I'm
the
like, come to
contracts
work
are
with me.
non-guaranteed. The NFL and my friends in the NFL have explained this to me.
Yeah.
And most guys, how long do they last in the NFL?
Less than 3 years.
And so you were right. It's like you do have to have a backup
Have
plan.
to have
Yeah,
a
she didn't
backup
think I
plan.
was going to the league.
Oh, I see.
Here we are 14 years later.
No,
she didn't
I
think-
knew nothing about football. So let's start there. I knew nothing about football. What I did know was that if you didn't make it, you had to have a plan. I knew you loved kids. I knew you loved people. I knew you would be a good coach possibly. And so it's like, hey, let me bring you along to work with me. See if you could really be a substitute teacher. And if the NFL doesn't work, then you can pursue this path.
And we got the chance to see. I'm glad I did that because I had never walked into a classroom with the teacher's lens on. I had only been in the classroom from a student lens.
Yeah.
And I knew that, kind of growing up, I knew there was differences between me and my peers. And that's kind of why I wanted to do something around education. But looking at it from a teacher's lens, it was like, here are all these kids and they have a lot of different situations going on and they're all in different places, but there's only one way to kind of reach them. And I knew that way wasn't going to be most beneficial long term. So even as a college student, I was already kind of connecting the dots and never would have thought, all these years later, a decade later, that we'd be, working in one of the premier spaces and on the front lines of transformative education in the country.
Yeah. So we should talk a little bit about that. Well, first of all, so were you both good students growing up? Did you like school?
I think we were decent students. I didn't necessarily love school. And when I look back, I'm like, if some of these transformative education models were accessible and available to me, I would have opted for that. When I got to college, I'll never forget feeling like I was not equipped and prepared. But it was because I was bored in the classroom. I was looking for ways to work and engage in passion projects and be a student worker and things of that nature. But there weren't a ton of opportunities. I think I had like one block where I could like be a administrative assistant, and then there was another block where I could teach study hall or be a book worker or something like that. But as I sat in the classroom, a lot would go over my head because it wasn't my learning style. I learned hands-on, taking notes, but someone standing in front of a classroom and just lecturing me all day, like I get lost because I'm a deep thinker and doer. So my mind starts to go a million different places. I'm like, oh my goodness. Yeah. So I was a decent student where I did make good grades, but I had to study a ton. It was a lot of late nights, early mornings.
And we both were, like, Tamela and I are both, like, survivors. So we are, like, going to find a way to thrive in any environment that we are in. So we really have great adapting skills. And so we made, like, I ended up graduating high school and college with a 3.5 GPA. And I was only motivated because of sports.
Yeah.
So it was, we made it in spite of the system, not because of the system.
Not because of it. Yeah. And I was motivated to get out of a small town. I was like, I'm in a small town, very few people. We don't have a red light or a grocery store. I have to get out of here, and I have to be able to check these boxes in order to go to college to get out. And so it's survival.
I think, Demario, that's a line I might have to steal, is the idea of making it despite the system and not because I think a lot of people have this attitude of like, well, I mean, I turned out fine, so school must have been fine because I turned out fine. And that's one of the things that we always kind of say is like, fine isn't good enough, right?
Yeah.
And I think you're right. Sometimes despite, and of course I think I know the answer, but where did you learn more? Did you learn more in school, sitting at your desk, or out on the field?
I learned more on the field. I think the thing that has helped equip me for life has been sports. I'm super biased about sports. I think sports is the greatest teacher of life just because, football especially is the greatest teacher of life because it teaches you all the life skills that you need to be successful in terms of resiliency, facing adversity, how to handle success versus failure, teamwork, responsibility, integrity, playing inside of rules, all of those things that accountability is great. Sure. So all those things that you're forced to get reps at every single day are the things that equip you. And so like a lot of times, I've done entrepreneurship training and internships and, a lot of different job spaces that I walked in without any type of training to go on those jobs. It's a lot of those skills that I learned in playing sports that it makes me confident walking in a room, and I can look at other people and kind of identify, oh, you haven't had as many reps in this area. And so, yes. And I think when you are training kids to be able to learn in all different type of spaces instead of just saying, hey, you have to go in to classroom, sit this way, listen to the teacher. And it's just this one path towards learning. You don't get the variety of learning that you get in football. Also in football, you have all these different coaches. You're playing in all these different environments. You're playing against all these different teams. And so even though you're doing the same thing every day, it's under the same structure, it's very different every day.
It is. And let's be honest, football is so much better than baseball.
No, I love baseball, but
sorry, I'm saying that. My husband's obsessed with baseball. I am not. So I have to get a little jab in on baseball.
So let's just, we have, for all of our football fans out there, and you see Demario Davis on the field, middle linebacker, team leader, defensive leader, what is something that the average fan may not realize that's going through your head about those life skills you've learned, like maybe leadership or teamwork? Maybe a lot of times people think leadership is forcing your way, but what do you think about it? Or teamwork or accountability? Just speaking to some of that, because we all see you, blitzing the quarterback or dropping back in cover and tipping the pass, but just talk to the fans.
So let's talk about something that just arrives at that point, which we were able to visit with one of the kids over at the Spyglass School, which is the K-5 school, earlier today, and it was they were going through a project about AI and being able to give and receive feedback, and they asked me a question about that life skill. How does that translate in football? And it made me think about what happens before I even get to a play that they see me playing on Sunday. There's so much giving and receiving feedback between me and my coach. First, the coach goes up and installs a play. Well, the only way that it's 10 guys in the room at our position that the coach is on the board describing, all 10 of us learn different ways. So he may be going through a play. We all are going to have to ask different questions and make different comments to give him the feedback, to give us the feedback that we need to be able to understand the information. And then now, once I receive the feedback from him, I've given him feedback so I can receive better feedback. He wants me to go on the field and practice that. Well, when I practice that, I'm going to do it as best I can, but he's going to correct me. I have to receive that feedback. And so the same thing is going on between me and my teammates because it's 11 people that have to make one play work. So we have to be giving and receiving feedback. And then all of that is getting reps at doing that. And then in the game, when it's crucial, we got each play is one time to get it perfectly right. If not, it's either going to be a touchdown or a big play for the other team, which is going to change the game, which is going to impact all those fans, how they feel going into the next week. Because we know fans are really excited when their team wins and they're really demoralized when they lose. Yes. And all of that is something as simple as a principle of giving and receiving feedback. That's a life skill that you have to do every day. And if we're all honest, as adults, we're not the best at it because we didn't get properly taught how to do that at an early age. Yeah. And so either you're having to self-teach yourself how to get better at it, or you're being guided on how to do it in the most beneficial way and getting accelerated at it. And that's what we love about models like this.
Well, and not only the skill of giving and receiving feedback, but also learning to seek out feedback.
Oh, that's good.
And that's one of the things our students do is like, I don't need to just hear all the good things about what I just did. Tell me some things where I can get better and where I can improve. In fact, one of the things we teach is to not do the Oreo cookie of here's something good and here's something that you could work on and here's something else good. It's like, hey, if we want to get better, let's focus on getting better. And what are the things that are going to help me with new reps?
And that's so good. But that's where you get out of doing fine is not okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why accept fine when you can get excellence?
Yeah.
And once someone tastes excellence, they'll never settle for fine again.
Yeah. You know, my two daughters, they're 2 years apart, and I think they were about 8 and 10 or so, and they were going to be giving a presentation in front of a bunch of Google employees, and which was a cool experience that they were getting through school. And I remember my younger daughter, Sloan, she's like 8 years old at the time. She says, "Okay, let me give you my talk," and she does it in the kitchen. And at the end of the talk, I was like, "Okay, this part was great. You're going to need to work on a better intro, and we need a little something, and you need to work on this." And my older daughter looks at me and she's like, "Mom, I think there are moms out there who just tell their 8-year-old daughter, 'Good job. Like, that's awesome. You're going to be doing this.'" And it was literally one of those times when my 10-year-old's giving me parenting advice, like, "I don't think this is how it's supposed to be done." Like, she did. And I looked at them and I said, "Girls, I could sit there and just tell you how wonderful it is and everything's perfect, or I can help you make sure that you are the best that you can be and that you get better. And by giving feedback, that's what we can do." Well, 2 days later, they're at this Google office and they present in front of a couple hundred people, and she was awesome. She did a great job. My 8-year-old was so good. And afterwards, I mean, all these people are coming up. "That was fantastic. I want to ask questions." And we got in the car, and my 8-year-old looked at me and she said, "I understand what you mean. That was so worth it. Like, that was fun." That she tasted excellence.
Yes.
And my older daughter was like, "You know what? You're totally right,
Yep.
Mom. Like,
Yep.
that time in the kitchen was well spent." And that feedback allowed us to go out on this large stage when it counted and be phenomenal.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And that creates confidence that spurs excellence.
That's it. And for us, like what we tell our kids is what you do is optional. What's not optional is being excellent at it. So
Wow.
we're allowing you to
great
pick
line.
what it is that you want to do. We're not going to tell you what it is, but once you pick a path, only excellence is acceptable.
Wow. That's a really great parenting mantra.
It's essentially one of those things where you can choose anything under the sun that you want to, and you can believe that that's the path for you. We're not going to choose for you. You get to choose college or not, this career path or not. What you don't get to choose is whether or not you're excellent in it. Because once you choose it, we're going to push you. We're going to shape you, mold you. We're going to put the tools and resources in front of you for you to excel at it. And so you get to choose. But once you choose, you don't get to choose whether you fail at it or not. You have to be excellent.
That is high support and high standards.
Yep.
And you said that exactly. We have high standards, but we're also going to support you in being great. And when you put those two things together, it's like rocket fuel for
But it's also about helping them identify their passion. And so we allow them to try different things, and we ask them questions. What did you like? And like one of our daughters is doing. She really showed us. One of our daughters didn't like sports. She showed us very early. She didn't want anything to do with sports. Where our second daughter, she enjoys sports. But we had her in swim. The swim coach, she's really talented at most things she do. The swim coach identified, said, hey, she needs to do competitive swim. So we put her in it, let her try it. She was like, I kind of like it. Well, then she said she wanted to try tennis. Well, as we're getting ready to move her out of the swim into another, because we only allowed them to do one thing at a time, as they figured out, we asked her, will you miss swim when you go to tennis? And she says, not that much. Well, that helps us help her know, but maybe this isn't a big passion for you. And because once you put them on the path and they choose something and it's the path aligned with their passion, that's going to be a fuel in itself, that is going to push them it's going to accelerate them towards excellence. And that's what we want. We want to accelerate every growth opportunity that we can find.
And giving kids opportunity to spend time exploring those passions, which traditional school just doesn't do so much.
Thanks for listening to MacKenzie Price and the Future of Education podcast. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, now is the time to do it, so you can stay up to date on all our episodes. You can connect with MacKenzie on social media and be part of our daily conversation over on Instagram at futureof_education. For more info about the show and our guests, you can always visit futureofeducationpod.com. Lastly, if you're loving what you're learning, please leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll be back in your feed soon, but until then, remember, kids are limitless, and it's our job to unlock their potential. That wraps up part 1 of this episode, but don't worry, there's a part 2 coming soon.